The conversation with the guildmaster came to an end shortly after. Corvin rose from his seat. "I should be going," he said. The guildmaster stood as well. "Of course." A faint pause, then a small smile. "And Corvin?" Corvin turned slightly at the door. "My name is James," the guildmaster said. "We've known each other long enough." Corvin gave a small nod. "I'll remember that." James folded his hands lightly behind his back. "Let me know what you decide about the offer." A brief pause. "And if you see Goran, tell him I said hello." Corvin nodded. "I will." Then, after a moment, "You still see him from time to time?" James gave a small shrug. "Now and then." A faint smile. "He's been thinking about taking up adventuring again." Corvin let out a quiet breath. "That sounds like him." "Safe travels," James said. Corvin inclined his head once more, then stepped out into the town. Iberian welcomed him back with its usual rhythm: carriages, voices, movement. This time he walked without urgency. He stopped at a bakery, picking up a few things, then another shop, and one more after that. Nothing extravagant, just enough for the evening. As he moved through the streets, familiar buildings began to appear, old places, memories layered into stone. Eventually he stopped in front of a modest house. The garden was well kept. Roses lined part of the path. Other plants, less common, grew in careful arrangement. And toward the back an old tree stood quietly. Corvin stepped forward and knocked. The door opened. The man standing inside filled the doorway. Tall, so tall it seemed the frame had not been built with him in mind. Broad shoulders stretched the space even further, as if the door itself were almost too small to contain him. Age had reached him as well. Gray threaded through his hair and beard, but it had done little to diminish his presence. The man looked at Corvin, then a slow, genuine smile. "Corvin, good to see you, old friend." Corvin returned the smile. "Goran, good to see you as well." Goran stepped aside, gesturing him in with an open hand. "Come in." Corvin entered, setting the items he had brought onto the table. Behind him the door closed with a soft thud. Goran moved toward a cabinet without asking. He took out 2 glasses, poured a drink into both, then handed one to Corvin. "You haven't changed much." Corvin gave a quiet, amused breath. "Neither have you." Goran let out a short chuckle, then gestured toward a chair near the fireplace. A small fire burned steadily there, casting a warm, steady glow across the room. "Make yourself comfortable." Corvin took the chair, glass in hand. Goran lowered himself into the chair opposite him, the furniture creaking slightly under his weight. For a brief moment neither spoke, just the crackle of the fire and the quiet familiarity of 2 men who had known each other for years. Goran leaned back slightly, studying him. "So, how did the meeting go?" Corvin took a small sip before answering. "Good, but not what I expected." Goran's expression barely changed, but there was a knowing look in his eyes. "I had a feeling." Corvin looked him more directly. "You knew?" Goran nodded once. "He mentioned he was looking for someone to take over." A faint smirk appeared. "I might have suggested your name." Corvin let out a quiet chuckle, shaking his head slightly. "That explains a few things." Goran lifted his glass slightly. "You were always suited for it. And let's be honest, You never minded the paperwork. Corvin smiled faintly. That's true. He leaned back slightly. And you were always the one doing most of the fighting. Goran laughed softly. That's also true. He looked at Corvin more seriously now. But don't sell yourself short. You held your own. Corvin nodded once. Coming from you, I'll take that as a compliment. The fire crackled softly between them. So, I take it you're not planning to go out tonight? Corvin shook his head slightly. Not tonight. Goran gave a small, satisfied nod. Good. He gestured toward the kitchen area. I already prepared something, and it looks like you brought a few things as well. Time passed. The meal was simple but warm. They ate quietly, a lantern casting just enough light to hold the darkness at bay. Later they returned to the living room. The fire had burned lower now, but still gave off a steady heat. Corvin looked across at him. So, what have you been up to these past few years? Goran exhaled slowly. Retirement. He shook his head slightly. It doesn't suit me. He leaned forward, resting his forearms on his knees. I've helped train a few adventurers here and there, but it's not the same. His gaze drifted for a moment. It reminded me of my younger days. Then back to Corvin, and made me realize I'm not done yet. Corvin watched him carefully. So you're going back? Goran nodded once. I've already agreed to something. Corvin raised his eyebrow slightly. What kind of work? Goran hesitated for just a moment. An old contact from my military days reached out, said there's someone looking for capable people. A pause. He mentioned a name, Jack White. A faint frown formed. I haven't heard much about him. Corvin leaned forward slightly. And? Goran met his gaze. I'm still deciding what to make of it. A brief silence settled between them. Then Goran spoke again. And you? A small pause. What are you going to do?